We're gonna get into it. We're gonna cover offer creation today, right? So I know Allison, you and I have been kind of talking through this, but I wanted to like build out a a structure that we can all mimic and follow as we go through this process, right? So I'm gonna go through it. I'll open up questions at the end. Obviously, if something is just burning right in the moment, like we could talk through that as well, because it's not like there's too many people here right now to where we can't get through it all. Okay. So let me see here.
Oh, that's good. You gonna record this session, B?
I am. Yeah. I think it should be recorded. Hold on.
Yeah, it said it was recorded.
Okay, cool. Cool. So as we start thinking through like offer creation, right? It's a lot of questions that we have to ask ourselves. And the first one is like, who is your target audience? And I'm gonna break each one of these down in more detail, right? But these are like the high level questions that we have to start asking ourselves first. Who is your target audience? What problem are you going to solve? Who are you going to solve it for? Okay. And I know that sounds redundant, but I'm explaining that here in a second as well. How will you solve it? What's their payoff? And then determine the pricing for your offer. Okay. And not that it has to be in that sequential order, but I honestly think that if you go through that level of deductive reasoning in that order, you'll better arrive at what the end result should be. Okay. Because a lot of people, I think, one, never ask themselves these questions. Secondly, they automatically start with like, what do I want to make? And that can't be the deciding factor. And typically you're going to come up with the wrong answer if you don't do it this way in the first place. Okay. Let's see here. So like who is your target audience? Okay. Are they male or female or both? All right. What kind of job do they have? What do they do for a living? Okay. Get as specific as you can about this, right? So I like working with, 6-figure entrepreneurs, coaches, and people in corporate America, right? Because typically at that level, one or two things are happening. You're overpaying in taxes, so you need a tax shelter called real estate. Or you don't got a lot of time freedom because you're putting so much time into this thing that you do every day to generate the 6 figures, whether that be at your employer or otherwise. And so then here real estate becomes another secondary vehicle, right? So I like working with those people. They typically have a little more means than most in terms of their ability, not only to pay me, but their ability to actually go out and start putting deals together. They're typically a little more savvy and with the understanding that things don't go as planned, right? So they're a better client because their mindset is already typically in a better place than most people. I mean, it's just unfortunate, but people with less means typically have less wherewithal also about how life works, right? So I'm really thinking about what do these people do every day? What type of income do they make? Are they married or single? Let me move this up so I can see. Hold on. Are they married or single? What's their ethnicity, right? Like me and Allison talked about this a little bit, and I think it's also relevant for Darius because, in our culture especially, we find people that double down on the narrative of I'm taking care of our people, right? And I'm more of the biblical sense of my sheep will hear my voice. So my people don't look like a race. My people look like whoever hear my voice and identify with what I'm talking about to the segment of people that meet all these other characteristics, right? So not quite naturally, because of how colonization works and all the rest of it, we're typically going to attract more people that look like us, but our messaging doesn't have to be limited to only that. The 19 Keys of the world, the EY, like they specifically, over explain the fact that they're talking to black people. And that's their target audience, right? But it's got to be predicated on your appetite. It's not a right or wrong either. It's just that we need to be clear about that so that we can double down on that niche if that's what we're going after. Okay. Interests, like what do they do? What do? Right? Do they go on fishing excursions? Do they own boats? Do they golf a lot? Are they football fanatics? Like what are their interests? What are these people? Are they probably at the bar a lot more than they should be? So we have to really obsess over who this avatar is and what they're doing. Religion could be also another factor. For me, I'm really intent on wanting to help the body of believers, but not excluding anybody at the same time. But I am very believer focused because I believe that the church, and especially the black church, does a poor job at equipping people with the wherewithal to go out and economically drive the kingdom, right? I think we do really well at understanding, absorbing scripture for the purposes of regurgitating and even practicing scripture in a lot of other capacities in our life. But when it come down to this one regarding finance, we drop the ball. And then we default into wealth as being wicked and poverty is piety, right? And there's nothing religious about being broke. So I'm very intentional about talking to the body of believers, but also very intentional while talking to them that I'm not excluding anybody else either. I'm not attacking other people's belief systems just because I like to keep mine at the forefront. Okay. Children, do they have any children? Right? Does that matter? Is your avatar a married person with 4 kids or is it a single person with 1? Like that matters, right? Depending on what you offering and what you're selling, like that absolutely matters. Their location, do you want an international footprint? Is the services that you offer going to be international? Is it something just US related? And if so, then your conversation need to be more global if you want to talk global, right? And then, what education level? Like, are you looking for people who have gone to college? Do you rather work with people that, that haven't been that scholastically achieved to where you feel like they're a better client because they're more doers than thinkers? Because typically the more degrees you got, the more analytical you are, which can drive you to inaction, right? So all those things play a factor and worth thinking through as you're thinking about your ideal avatar. Okay. Was age in there? Age was another one. Yeah, age was another one. So you want to make sure that you also think about the age, right? Now I can tell you it's the strangest thing, but based on my messaging and my ads, my content, our most recent clients have been older than me. Historically, that wasn't the case. Like when Darius came in the program 4 years ago, almost everybody was younger than me. You know what I mean? And I ain't that old, but now at 40, like we got several over 60-year-old people in the program now. You know what I'm saying? Like several. Many of them are 50, and 40 is starting to be like the youngest age, and so we've been going back, looking at the messaging and understanding why that is. Now, I'm not juxtapose it. And for many of them, they had enough life experience to where they are pretty good clients, other than the fact that they stubborn because they had so much life experience that regardless of what I tell them, sometimes they still choose to do it their way. And then they come back later like, yeah, you told me, you know what I mean? So there's that. But, are they sometimes better to work with than like the young kids? Crazy. I'm calling young kids like 20-some-year-olds, not calling them young kids, but but the inconsistency and all the other stuff that come along with that. So it's just really based on your temperament and who you would prefer to work with. The general rule is plus or minus 5 years of you is kind of who your avatar would be. I don't know that that's the case though. For me, right? Maybe for you. For me, that hasn't served to be true. Okay. So what problem are you going to solve? Okay. So what is their problem? And you need to start obsessing over the problems that they have. So like I mentioned, I know my avatars are typically overpaying for taxes, right? Because if they work in corporate America, they're being taxed more than anybody else on the planet if they're not a small business owner in conjunction with that. I know that many of them are spending more time at work than with their families in many cases, right? Like if you're ever trying to think about who your avatar is, a good place to start is who you were 5 years ago. Like who are you 5 years ago and what position were you in? Like what problems did you have at that point in your life? You know what I'm saying? And then start obsessing over those same people that you want to be able to bring from that place of pain into this new place of promise and comfort that you found for yourself. Okay. Do they have the money, but not the time, right? So that's a good example. So like my avatar, being that I'm looking for high income earners, they got money, but they don't have time freedom because they've sold their time to corporate America at a hefty fee, right? And as you know, Allison, you know, you made multiple six figures in corporate. The golden handcuffs just get stronger and stronger. You know what I mean? So like all that come at a price. Then on the other hand, you got, you know, people that have the time, but maybe not the liquid resources that others will have, right? So these are just various things. And it's important that we highlight this because all of your content is going to be derived around this. This is why you got to get so clear on this piece, because all of your content is going to start speaking to this person or these people. Okay. Are they missing family and children life events? Right. Many of them are. Some by choice. Right. That's a whole nother angle. I just gave myself a content angle. So when I thought of that, right, when I saw that, I thought of it like, are they missing out on family and children life events? It's like, yeah, but are you somebody who because you haven't discovered your purpose are hiding yourself in your work? See, it's one thing from corporate to have you in the chokehold. It's another thing for you to have you in the chokehold. Because you're searching for validation and identity to where you are over immersed in what you're doing because you still had this void that you're trying to feel and don't know how to fill it. Right? So it could be self-inflicted that we're away from our family. And then, you know, are they stuck in a business that they hate? So if your avatar so happens to be a business owner, then you want to obsess over the problems that business owner is experiencing as well. Because at the end of the day, business owner, corporate America, whatever your shtick is in terms of income earning, the goal for everybody is time freedom. Like everybody wants to be able to wake up and figure out what they're doing for the day, right? So whatever that is, whatever impediments that's causing them not to be able to do that exist in one of these capacities. It's just about who do you rather work with, right? So for instance, one of my mentors really loves doctors and nurses, right? They have been horrible clients for me. Okay, doctors because they're too over analytical. Nurses because typically when they work that swing shift, it's hard for them to get consistent results in their business. And so that after a while they end up burning out. So like for me, I really don't take them as clients. I don't like to say never, but I really prefer not to take them as clients. Okay, for that reason. So it really becomes that intuitive after you start thinking through it and going through it. Okay. Now, who are you going to solve this for? I said it was going to be redundant because once you start answering the questions in the above slide, then now that you have this avatar, this is the person that you need to speak to in all your content. Right? So as you're building out your storyboard for your content, go back to the previous characteristics and start honing in on talking to that person specifically. So I know many of you in corporate America that's making six figures a year, right? One, you're struggling with overpaying for taxes. Two, you're trying to figure out an exit plan, but then you don't feel as if you got enough time to even pursue the exit plan. How do I know? Because I've been there, right? I'm talking to my avatar and my content. So that's the hook. And then I'm giving the story, right? Yeah, I was in that same position. It actually took me 3 years to get out, but I think we need to focus less about the time that it takes us to get out as opposed to knowing that we have a plan to get out. I want to help you develop a plan. Boom, 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 boom. That's a video. Right? And then you just keep running reps on talking to that person. Now, you know, yes, there's going to be a blend of other things that you need to do in your content to show personality and all the rest of it. But the messaging as a whole, if people come to your page and start clicking through videos, they should understand really quickly who you're talking to. Okay. Next, you got to think through, like, how will you solve it? Okay. So now that you've identified their issues and obsessed over them, how are you going to solve their problems? Okay. This one is where it's going to be important. It's going to be really important for you to dummy down your thoughts. And when I say that, I mean this. We being a subject matter expert in whatever it is that we teach, and we understand it the way that we understand it. So a lot of the time, it's very easy to high level answer your question because you've compressed all of the intricate details together in your subconscious because you're so accustomed to doing whatever that thing is. That makes sense? So what happens is you have to continue to ask yourself deeper and deeper questions to get to a point of where the thing that you need is so distilled that that's the thing that they're going to need. Right? So I've been a part of many mentorship programs, right? And one that I was most recently in was really good at high level strategy, which is great, right? But many people in that room failed to execute because they didn't know how to then take that high level strategy and go figure out all the details to make it make sense. Right. So in lieu of that, I understood when creating this what was missing, because that individual didn't take the time to go as far as what I'm talking about right now. Right. So it's important that we all, as educators, as coaches, as mentors, product sellers, whatever you want to call us, that we take the time to really understand what they're going to need. Okay. And in that is where you will start to develop the pieces, the product in the pieces, as I call them. Okay. So take the apprenticeship program, for instance, right? I knew that lending would be a bottleneck for the students, for many of them. If they just starting off, the lender requires that you got 2-3 deals of experience. Well, how do I get 2-3 deals of experience if I'm just starting off? That's a conundrum. So if I can have affiliates within my network that could lend to my students, and that's a benefit to them to get a deal done. Everybody always worried about the money, right? Having their deals analyzed, because people are always scared that what if I'm doing a bad deal? Well, what if you got somebody that could look at those, look at the deals and help give you another set of eyes and some more direction. What's another one? Coaching, right? So doing weekly coaching calls at that level, so where they feel like they're getting a constant inoculation. There's not a lot of space in between, right? So, and I highlight that because it is. So one will say, well, why ain't the calls weekly and PMP? Well, because you're dealing with a business owner that's business minded, that rather than them having the frequency of an every week thing on their calendar to do, they need to be executing more within a 2-week time frame. You see what I mean? So everything is not for everybody. You got to think about who your avatar is and what's going to serve them at the highest and best level, because giving them more stuff to do is not the answer. And many people mess up by creating programs that are predicated on giving them 1,000 videos to watch, Trello boards, Slack channels, all this busy work that make it seem like it's of substance. That's not what people want. That overwhelms them to a point of not taking action. So you have to figure out how to give them the least path of resistance, the most streamlined way to get the desired outcome with the least amount of friction. That's the goal. Everybody wants the easy button and the fast button, right? And I say that tongue in cheek, but y'all get the point. Like, people would much rather, if I can go make $100,000 and watch one video that could show me how to do it, or come in your portal and watch 15 of them, which one would I prefer to do? The one, right? So that's the way you got to think about your content. Don't overload them with just a bunch of product and pieces to try to make the value seem bigger. The value is in how quickly can they get the payoff. Okay? So think through what pieces that you need in your offer. Think through what resources do they need. Think through what time frame do they need to achieve the result. Okay? And that's so important because that's going to all help you, especially the time frame piece that it takes for them to get the transformation. That's going to help you to be able to determine how you can appropriately price whatever it is that you offer. Okay. So what's the payoff? Everybody needs a tangible, measured payoff. Okay. A tangible, measured payoff in a certain specific time. So I teach people how to make 6 to 7 figures in 12 months in 6 to 7 figures in 12 months in my real estate offer. Right? So it's a clear, tangible, measured payoff. And we've had multiple students do exactly that, right? What quality of life improvements do they get? Now, this is the soft part of your offer, right? So the hard part is the tangible, measured payoff over time. And then the quality of the life improvements is all the other intangible, what would you call it? Like the, like the intangibles. That's exactly what it is, right? So what quality of life improvements do they get? Okay. Do they get more time freedom? Be able to illustrate and speak to that. Okay. And then we have to show them the clear starting point and the clear ending point for their payoff. Okay. So, and the reason this is so important because you're going to